Snow White's Forbidden Journey. Prologue. The Cursed Kingdom. In the realm of Everwood, nestled between jagged mountains and sprawling forests, a shadow loomed over the once thriving kingdom. Fields that had once burst with golden crops now lay barren, cracked, and lifeless. Rivers that sparkled under the sun had dwindled to mere trickles, and famine gnawed at the people's spirits. A curse had befallen Everwood, cast by a vengeful sorcerer from a rival land, and with it came despair that threatened to extinguish all hope. At the heart of this dying kingdom stood the royal castle, its spires weathered and gray. Within its walls lived Princess Snow White, a young woman whose beauty was matched only by her courage. Her ebony hair framed a face as pale as snow, her lips a vivid red, but it was her fierce determination that truly defined her. Unlike the courtly ladies who fluttered about in silks, Snow White had spent years honing forbidden skills, swordsmanship and magic, training in secret under the cover of night. Her father, King Cedric, ruled with a heavy heart. The death of Queen Isolde, Snow White's mother, had left him a broken man, reliant on his cunning adviser, Lord Malachar. Malachar, with his sharp eyes and silver tongue, insisted the curse was unbreakable, warning that any attempt to defy it would doom them all. But Snow White refused to surrender to such a fate. One stormy evening, hidden in the castle's dusty library, Snow White uncovered an ancient scroll. It spoke of the heart of the ancients, a radiant artifact capable of restoring life to barren lands. The scroll revealed its resting place, the Forbidden Lands, a realm beyond the mountains, shrouded in peril and mystery. Once home to the Eldar, a civilization of unmatched magical prowess, the Forbidden Lands were now a graveyard of ruins, guarded by enchanted sentinels and cursed with deadly traps. Entry was strictly prohibited, a decree born from centuries of failed expeditions. Yet Snow White saw no other path. With her kingdom on the brink of collapse, she resolved to retrieve the heart, even if it meant defying her father's edict and venturing into the unknown. Act 1. The Decision Under a Moonless Sky. Snow White slipped from the castle, cloaked in shadow. She carried a small satchel with provisions, a dagger at her hip, and a staff imbued with faint magical runes. Her destination was the forest's edge, where she had arranged to meet a guide, a disgraced knight named Roderick. Roderick awaited her, his scarred face illuminated by a flickering lantern. "You're the princess," he grunted, eyeing her warily. "This is madness. The Forbidden Lands will chew you up and spit out your bones." "I'm no fragile flower," Snow White replied, her voice steady. "I've trained for this, and I'll not let my people starve. Will you help me, or shall I go alone?" Roderick hesitated, then sighed. "You'll need more than guts. We'll need a crew, outcasts with skills to match the dangers ahead." Thus began their quest to assemble a band of allies. Over the next week, they scoured the kingdom's fringes, seeking those who could aid their perilous mission. Act 2. Gathering the Misfits Ilara, the Shadow. Their first stop was a ramshackle tavern on the outskirts of Everwood. There, amidst the clamor of drunken laughter, Snow White spotted Ilara, a lithe woman with nimble fingers, slipping coins from a patron's pocket. Caught in the act, Ilara smirked as Snow White approached. "I could have you arrested," Snow White said, "or I could offer you a chance at something greater. Join me, and your skills will save a kingdom." Ilara twirled a stolen dagger between her fingers. "Redemption's a pretty word, princess. What's in it for me?" "A purpose," Snow White answered, "and a pardon for your crimes." Ilara grinned. "Deal." Galen the exile next, they ventured to a crumbling hut in the woods, home to Galen, an old mage banished for dabbling in forbidden spells. His beard was wild, his eyes sharp with wisdom. Leave me be, he rasped as Snow White knocked. I've no love for your father's court. I don't serve the court, she replied. I serve the people. Help me lift this curse, and your exile ends. Galen studied her, then nodded slowly. Your heart's true. I'll lend my magic, for now. Brum, the fallen in a muddy village. They found Brum, a towering warrior with a gentle demeanor. Once a hero in the king's army, he'd been stripped of honor for refusing to slaughter innocents. I'm no use to anyone, he muttered, hefting a woodcutter's axe. You're wrong, Snow White said. Your strength and honor are exactly what we need. Fight with me and reclaim your name. Brum's eyes softened. For the people, then. Lyra, the healer. By a quiet stream, they met Lyra, a healer tending to a sick child. Her hands worked deftly with herbs, her voice soothing. I've heard of your quest, she said as Snow White explained. The suffering here breaks my heart. I'll join you to mend what's broken. Finn, the bard. Finally, in a bustling market, they encountered Finn, a bard whose lute drew crowds. His songs were laced with charm, his smile disarming. A princess on a quest? He teased. Sounds like a ballad in the making. Count me in. I'll weave our tale into legend. With her band assembled, Roderick the knight, Elara the thief, Galen the mage, Brum the warrior, Lyra the healer, and Finn the bard, Snow White felt a flicker of hope. Together, they turned toward the mountains, ready to face the forbidden. Act 3. The journey begins. The road to the Forbidden Lands was fraught with peril. They crossed raging rivers on makeshift rafts, scaled cliffs where the wind howled like a banshee, and trekked through forests teeming with wolves. Snow White's leadership shone as she guided them, her blade flashing against bandits who sought to prey on their small band. In a starving village, they paused to share their meager supplies. Snow White knelt beside a frail child, her magic easing his hunger pains. She's our savior, the villagers whispered, their gratitude fueling the group's resolve. Tension simmered among the misfits. Ilara's sharp tongue clashed with Brum's quiet stoicism, while Finn's jests irked Galen's somber nature. One night, around a crackling fire, Snow White bared her soul, speaking of her mother's death and her father's despair. In turn, her companions shared their burdens, forging a fragile unity. Act 4. Into the Forbidden Lands. At the border of the Forbidden Lands, danger struck. Mercenaries sent by Lord Malachar ambushed them, swords gleaming in the dusk. Snow White parried a blow, her magic flaring to blind their foes, while Brum's strength and Ilara's agility turned the tide. They emerged victorious but wary. Malachar knew of their quest. Crossing into the Forbidden Lands, they entered a world of haunting beauty. Ruins of Eldar cities rose like specters, their stone overgrown with vines. The air thrummed with wild magic, and shadows moved with intent. Their first trial was a maze of stone corridors, patrolled by golems that stirred at the slightest misstep. Snow White deciphered ancient runes etched into the walls, guiding them through unharmed. Next, a river of molten flame barred their path, its spectral guardian posing a riddle. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. What am I? Finn's quick mind answered, an echo, and the flames parted. Act 5. Trials of the heart deeper in. They uncovered Eldar relics, tombs of knowledge and power. Galen pored over texts, unraveling spells that would aid them. But the Temple of the Heart loomed ahead, its entrance sealed by a trial of fears. One by one, they faced their demons. Roderick relived his banishment, Ilara her betrayal by a lover, Brum his disgrace. Snow White confronted her mother's ghost, who whispered, "You're not enough." Tears stung her eyes, but her companions' voices pulled her through. Together, they emerged stronger. Act 6. The Sorcerer's Wrath. In the temple's sanctum, the heart of the ancients pulsed on a pedestal. As Snow White reached for it, the sorcerer appeared, a figure of shadow and flame, the last Eldar. "Your ancestors destroyed us," he snarled. "Now you'll pay." A battle erupted. The sorcerer's magic lashed out, but Snow White countered with Galen's teachings, her staff glowing. Broom shielded them, Roderick struck, and Lyra healed their wounds. In a final clash, Snow White drove her blade through the sorcerer's form, shattering his power. The heart's light surged, the curse lifting from Everwood. Act 7. The Return. Their triumph was short-lived. Malakar's forces pursued them, desperate to seize the heart. Exhausted, they fought through ambushes, aided by villagers who'd rallied to Snow White's cause. The journey home was a gauntlet, but their bond held firm. Act 8. The Reckoning at the Castle. Snow White confronted Malakar before the court. "You allied with the sorcerer," she accused, presenting evidence from the Forbidden Lands. The king, shaken, ordered Malakar's arrest. Banished, the advisor fled into the night. With the heart placed in Everwood's core, the land bloomed anew. Crops sprouted, rivers swelled, and joy returned. Epilogue. A New Dawn King. Cedric stepped down, crowning Snow White queen. Her companions found purpose at her side, Roderick as captain, Ilara as a reformer, Galen as court mage, Brum as a defender, Lyra as a healer, and Finn as a chronicler. Under Queen Snow White, Everwood flourished, her forbidden journey a legend of courage and unity etched into history.